Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. Today, I've got Alex Moeller from coming out of Melbourne, Australia, and he is the founder of Enso Meditation. He's got an inspiring story. A lot of the audience will resonate with, especially in our high stress world. And we're gonna hear all about the great work that he's doing with Enso Meditation, and I'm really happy to have him on. Alex, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an absolute honor to be here with you, Christopher, and I appreciate you giving me the time to chat to you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Briefly introduce yourself because I know there's a series of questions I want to ask you for the audience and kind of learn more about it. So I know you started out and you reached a point and enlightened the audience in how you started the meditation.
Yeah. I did, as you just said, I did reach a point where things just got overwhelming in my life. I didn't know what to do. And desperate times call for desperate measures, which meant that I did the unthinkable and attempted meditation for the first time. And I'm an extreme kind of guy. Sometimes I was thinking to myself, I'm going to do it. I'll do it to the max. And I started meditating. I set myself a challenge of meditating for 30 days straight for an hour a day. I wouldn't recommend doing that when you're starting off, but I thought, let's just give it a try. It's good YouTube content. We'll try it out. I did. And 30 days later, it was incredible. Everything changed. Things that would bother me usually didn't bother me. I just felt this greater sense of presence, calm, equanimity. I felt very connected to those around me. And I was just astounded. And obviously by then it was a habit and it was a big part of my life by that point. But I learned a lot and I was just so fascinated by the results, by how much it changed me. I dug my head in, became obsessed with it and just read so much about it, studied it, and it became a big part of my life. And then, I thought that I went through what I went through. There are probably a lot of people, especially in today's current climates, who are going through a lot at the moment, and they may not have the way of dealing with things that I did. I thought that it would be nice for me to give back and start Enso Meditation. So I founded Enso about a year ago. I was teaching meditation for 3 years, but started Enso a year ago. And yeah, it's been great. It's been so rewarding to see something as simple as meditation bring so much more to people's lives. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I really love this. So talk about what Enso Meditation, is it like Headspace or is it different? Talk about what it is.
Sure. Enso Meditation it's a company in Melbourne, Australia, and it's a mobile meditation company, but we do have a head office as well. And companies will contact us and say, oh, look, we like wellness workshops or teams going through a lot. I have one of my biggest clients is Adidas, and they were going through a lot. A few weeks ago, they were shifting to a new office, and they just obviously, and they're a regular client, but I came in and I helped them deal and navigate through the change. So I help companies just deal with the stresses of everyday life, and it helps bring out the best in their employees. It helps everyone perform better. It helps build a greater team culture. It helps up KPIs and sales. Everything works when people are happy, when people are in a good place, relaxed and present. The whole company flows a lot better. So there's a lot of value to not just meditation, but bringing mindfulness exercises in. We do mindfulness lunches. I'll come into workplaces and we'll eat mindfully. We do mindful wine tasting, mindfulness. We do so much just to bring, and it not only just brings them back to the present and helps them appreciate what they have and it instills a sense of gratitude in them, but it also brings the team together. They have a bit of fun, they joke around a little bit, and it gives them tools to take with them after the workshop. So in that sense, it's great. It's not an app like Headspace, and I do recommend Headspace. If any of your listeners are looking at starting meditation, I highly recommend Headspace. I'm a member of Headspace, a fantastic app. I also recommend Insight Timer, which is a free app. I actually happen to be a teacher on there as well, so I'm a little biased, but it is a great app. I think it's the third largest app in the world, so it's pretty good. So yeah, I'd say that's basically Enso in a nutshell. So we're just helping, but we've also been transitioning into aged care homes. We've been transitioning into schools. And so we're trying to help everyone really, but more so the corporate world is like 70-80% of our business.
Yeah. Interesting. So this idea of Enso app, one thing is talking about, because I was listening to a podcast interview with Headspace, and he was talking about how became he was in the corporate, and he went to I think became a Zen Buddhist master, right?
Yes.
Meditate, and then he was coaching. He was doing coaching such as you, and then he created Headspace because he wanted to. It was really interesting because he come from this space, and basically it reminded me of Airbnb and Uber and these very platform economies, and he basically put all this content for people to, and basically to scale. Is that what Enso is planning to do, or talk about the long-term direction for Enso?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're planning on doing something along those lines. I'm not planning on starting the next Headspace app because it's a bit late for that, but I'm planning on taking a different direction, probably looking at selling products that can help people, like toolkits, anxiety toolkits and stuff like that, that people can download digitally or purchase physically as well, and booklets and stuff like that. So I am planning on creating content and stuff for people who will need it. In terms of an app, 100%, a little bit down the track. Enso's only a year old, and it's so tempting to sometimes just go for everything and grow really fast. But I'm also very mindful of not growing too fast. So just doing it steadily in a way that's manageable and navigable. But yeah.
So walk us through this typical Enso experience. Like, what do clients come in stressed or anxious or depressed, and they're looking for something? And talk about how Enso touches each of these customer experience points and how they can get value. What is the USP of Enso meditation? I'm just trying to get a better sense for the audience.
Sure. So companies will usually, or customers will usually have something that they're going through, right? It may be having to cope with change. It may be turmoil with customers, whatever it is, they're going through something, and their team just may be a little disoriented. There may be a slight disruption in their culture. They may feel like there is no culture at all. And they might just need to just bring a sense of excitement back to their team and motivation and purpose. So if they don't have that, then you can't really function as a team. So I suppose our USP would be that we help teams bond, we help them come together, we help them grow internally, and just build those skills, calmness, relaxation. Look, it all begins with happy employees. When the people working for you are happy, everything else works out. It's as simple as that. I try not to overcomplicate it as well, because it's so simple. At the end of the day, if you can show your employees that you care about them and that you really want what's best for them, and that you can deliver them things, workshops and classes that can help elevate their everyday lives, then they'll appreciate that. It'll make the workplace a lot better. Overall, I suppose that's the USP, just helping teams function better, work well together. And we do it through so many different ways. We help them address burnout. So burnout's a huge issue these days. A lot of people are dealing with it. It's an epidemic, actually. So a lot of companies that go through burnout, a lot of employees are dealing with burnout. And the problem with that is that people are taking work home with them. They just don't know when to stop. They'll finish. We're meant to clock out at 5, go back home, spend time with our families and kids, or with our friends, or whatever it is. But people don't do that anymore. They'll stay back an extra 2 hours. They'll take their laptops home with them. They'll keep working. Their relationships with everything just devolves. So it's so important for us to establish and help them maintain those boundaries so that they don't devolve into burnout. So that's another big part of it. We actually have burnout workshops that specifically focus on burnout, because a lot of companies contact me and they're like, oh, look, I think our employees are a little burnt out. By the time you've already contacted me, it's already too late. They've already experienced burnout. So it's also good to prevent that from happening in the first place. It's good to set up these workshops, and we can create those preventable measures to prevent them from going through it. Yeah. And it's interesting because, and a lot of people have never meditated before. They don't even know what meditation is. There are so many misconceptions about meditation. There are so many people think there's only one way to meditate, when in reality, there's hundreds of different ways to meditate. People think that meditation is all about clearing the mind, when meditation is really just all about noticing when the mind drifts and just understanding your mind, understanding your thoughts, and bringing yourself back to the present. So when I teach them that, it gives them a lot of power over their own minds. And empowers their teams in profound ways, without a doubt.
Yeah, interesting. And what I really found very insightful was you did a 30-day journey, and basically you found that meditation brought a profound sense of control and clarity, and you felt like you had gained superpowers such as creativity, laser-like focus, and boundless motivation. What, like, when you say you practice, what did you do? You just sat with your thoughts for an hour each day, or what did you do?
That's a great question, Christopher, because so at first I was a little lost. I was like, what am I doing? What the hell am I going to do? So I was like, look, and again, at the time I was going through unbearable anxiety. It was lockdown, so it didn't help that I was stuck at home. And in Melbourne, lockdown was on another level. In case you haven't heard, it was terrible. It was like being in prison. So I was there as well. And I thought, let's just keep my life a little exciting. Let's just try meditating. I'll put on video to hold myself accountable. We'll create a 30-day YouTube journal. And I threw myself into the deep end, and I thought, okay, let's just start by, I read a little bit about it, and I had a basic understanding. Let's just start by sitting down and focusing on my breath, which is ultimately what meditation is about. Vipassana and Buddhist meditation is all about sitting down, closing your eyes, and focusing on the sensations of the breath, focusing on the sensations of the body. How does your body feel? What parts of your body are tense? So just focusing on that, bringing the awareness back to the body and to the sensations of the breath. So I did that. I closed my eyes. I'll never forget the first time I tried it. I'm closing my eyes and I'm focusing on the breath, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, damn, I wish I could just go outside now. It's a nice sunny day. And then within literally 10 seconds, it's been 3 minutes, and I've been thinking nonstop about my day, about my friend not calling me back, about what's for dinner. And all of these things are just going over. And then within 5 minutes, I'm just like, oh, holy moly, I've only been meditating for 10 seconds. Let's get back into it. So you recognize it, went back into it. And I'm like, okay, this is going really well. This is going really well. I look at the clock, just have a quick little peek, and it's been 6 minutes. I'm just like, oh, damn it, I've got 23 more minutes. At that point, I thought it was an hour. So the time was going very slow. And I had the first hour was a slugfest. It was such a pain. And honestly, I would not recommend to anyone when you're starting off to do an hour on your first go. I would recommend starting very small. And I always say that to my students. There's an excellent book that I will always recommend called Atomic Habits. You've probably heard of it, by James Clear. And it talks about starting very small. And if I was to relate that to meditation, I would say just start with 30 seconds, 1 minute a day. The point isn't at that point to get good at meditation or understand it better. The point is to establish the habit. Once your place has been established, then you can start learning more and experimenting with different styles. But I would say in terms of meditation, what it is, start with just focusing on your breath, experiencing what it feels like, the sensations, the raw sensation, consciously feeling the breath. And then you'll notice that within a few seconds, your mind's going to drift. You're going to be thinking about your dog or your car or whatever it is. And then the power in meditation, the effectiveness comes from, oh, wait a second, noticing that thought has drifted, establishing that you've had that thought, looking at it from the outside. At that point, it's just a thought now. It's not part of who you are. And then going back to the breath again. Okay. And each time you do, that's one repetition. It's like a bicep curl. So you keep doing that. You keep getting distracted by your thoughts, going back to your breath. And that's how you keep growing. Because ultimately what that does is it creates this habit in your mind of noticing when your thoughts drift. And if you think about it, when we're experiencing anxiety, depression, anger, any of those negative emotions may hold us back, oftentimes it happens excessively in excess because we're not realizing it's happening. When you are anxious on another level, you don't even realize it's happening. Half the time, it doesn't even make sense. Most of the time, it's just amplified. So not even rational. And the same with depression and anger, we amplify it. So if you can build that skill just for a second, stepping back after a few seconds and realizing, okay, this is too much now. This is exaggerated. Let's just go back to my breath now. Let's go back to the present moment. You can deal with things with more clarity, with more equanimity, and in a more balanced way. Lastly, the average human thinks 70,000 thoughts a day. Okay. So thinking is our natural state. Right. And 80% of the time we're thinking about the same thing over and over again. It's a ridiculous statistic, but it's true. So it's okay for us to think. I used to be, when I first began, I used to be so hard on myself. I used to think, stop it. You're always thinking. Just go back to your breath. Just focus on your breath. Just meditate. But it's okay, because that's our natural state. Meditating and focusing on the breath is not our natural state. Just like lifting 20-pound dumbbells is not our natural state, but resting is. So it's just about strengthening those muscles, those focus muscles and presence muscles. So yeah.
Interesting. Because I did something similar to you, because I did this last month, I forced myself to wake up at 4 a.m. and just notice my sensations. And I actually feel like I achieved some of the same superpowers that you were describing. Like my energy's better, my creativity, my mental focus and sharpness it's like on a different level. And then if you combine body conscious awareness practices like yoga with meditation, it's almost like it's like a superpower. It's incredible. I'm not sure, but there's a parallel that your journey when you talked about that is really interesting. So
have you been doing, is that a morning routine you've been doing when you've been getting up?
yeah. Yeah. But
yeah, absolutely. And it's so important. And we actually, as humans, we have so much potential. It's crazy how much potential we have. Sorry about the ambulance in the background. We have so much, firefighters, we have so much potential. And the problem is that we mask the ability to bring it out in us by just distracting ourselves, really. It's like being an actual superhuman, right? Like from the X-Men universe. I'm a big comic book fan, which is why I constantly go back to that analogy. More of a DC guy, but we'll just use the X-Men universe for a minute. And it's like being there. You have this superpower that you can unleash, that you can use, but because you're not really getting to know yourself and what internally better, you can't use it. It's just sitting there dormant. It's a bit of a waste. So our superpowers are manifested in different ways, either creativity, it's either empathy. It could be, you could be good at something, a specific skill. There are so many different things that we can do. Intuition is a superpower. I'm creating a course. I'll be done next month. And it's about using meditation and mindfulness to unleash your superpowers, to uncover your superpowers. So I will share that with you if you'd like to check it out.
yeah.
But for sure. And that's the thing. Meditation just helps bring us back to who we really are and understand and value what we are capable of, without a doubt.
Yeah, we'll include those resources in the links. And what's interesting is I've heard from basically if you do these powerful morning routines, like for some, it's like a super cold shower, like an ice bath. And then it's like, it translates, like it keeps them like, I know one of my colleague basically changed his diet. So now he's dropped like 15 pounds and super lean. And so very interesting because I love these. I'm always looking for the hacks, and I'm always talking to people that are biohacking or doing things that like will prolong them and make them superstars and better performers. So it sounds like what you came up across is really powerful. But one more question I have for you is, talk about where people can find you and follow you and reach out to you and how they can work with you.
Sure, absolutely. So you can find me on Enso Meditation, right? So ensomeditation.com.au. There's also an Instagram page, Enso Meditation. That's all it is on Instagram. But yeah, I'm also on Insight Timer. So I've got about 60 meditations on there on Insight Timer, which is the app. So yeah, if you just search for my name, you'll find me on Insight Timer. It's great. But that's it. I'd recommend those. If you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me anytime and ask me. I love it. It's just hello@ensomeditation.com.au. And I'm always happy to answer questions. I love it. But yeah, absolutely. And I'll pass the details to the course when it eventually comes out to you, Christopher.
Yeah. Keep up the great work.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thanks, man. I really enjoyed that. Honestly, thanks for the amazing questions and the great energy. I really appreciate it.